A verbal argument gave way to gunshots here on Majesty Lane in Edgewood, leaving 46-year-old Kisha Blackwell critically injured and a gunman on the loose.
We know who the suspect is, and the victim was known to the suspect, so we believe this is an isolated incident at this time.
Less than 24 hours after the shooting, a marked police squad car remained across the street from the victim's home as the search continued for 42-year-old Jamar Wise of Towson.
Around 5 p.m. on December 20th, Harford County Police responded to the 2800 block of Majesty Lane in Edgewood, Maryland, for a reported shooting. Upon arrival, they would find a distraught teen and an unresponsive woman lying in the driveway of the home.
I was outside grilling and I heard the helicopters above and saw a police car next door.
Neighbors describe a chaotic scene in an otherwise quiet Edgewood neighborhood. Harford County Sheriff's deputies say they got a call for a disturbance just after 5 Tuesday evening on Majesty Lane.
Upon arrival in the just off Majesty Lane here, they found a female victim suffering from what we believe to be a gunshot wound.
The victim was identified as 46-year-old Kisha Blackwell, who was shot in the head in the driveway of her home. She was immediately taken to a nearby trauma center where she would succumb to her injuries the very next day. Investigators said they were initially called in reference to a verbal argument, and deputies arrived within minutes of the gunfire, but the shooter fled the scene. Police would quickly identify the suspect as Kisha's ex-boyfriend, 42-year-old Jamar Wise of Towson, Maryland. A BOLO alert was immediately issued, and police considered him to be armed and dangerous. Detectives concluded that Wise was a suspect from interviews with neighbors and witnesses who were visibly shocked, as they say situations such as this never occur in their neighborhood. Wise filed for divorce from Kisha earlier this year, and the couple was scheduled to have a hearing on the settlement on March 9th. Wise is also facing stalking and harassment charges in Harford County for offenses that occurred earlier this year and has a restraining order placed on him for domestic violence. Records show that Kisha had an order of protection against him, in which he violated by contacting her by phone. In a handwritten petition to the court, dated August 15th, Kisha described how since April, Mr. Wise had made verbal threats to her, her family, as well as her friends. In May, he left a note on her door saying, "You killed me, thank you," and also indicated that he would send people to her home. Wise also left additional notes on her car, candy at her house, made harassing calls, and sent disturbing emails and text messages from different phone numbers and email addresses. In her written statement, she wrote, "Mr. Wise is very abusive and has a long history of abuse and domestic violence. On multiple occasions, Mr. Wise has threatened and yelled at me. I've been called several names and held against my will in my own vehicle. I am very concerned about my safety as well as my family." Although notified of the violation of the order, Wise was never arrested, leaving him free to do as he pleased. A representative from the Harford County Sheriff's Office says that he firmly believes that if you violate a protective order, you should be placed in jail. This way, you are unable to harm anyone else.
The victim's mother spoke to 11 News off camera and said her daughter lives there with her 3 kids. She says the 15-year-old daughter was in the house when the shooting happened in the driveway.
It's shocking that something like that happens right next to where you live. We've been here about 10 years and nothing like this has ever happened.
Police are reassuring the public that this is an isolated incident and are calling it a domestic issue.
We know who the suspect is, and the victim was known to the suspect, so we believe this is an isolated incident at this time. We have nothing to believe otherwise.
Meanwhile, neighbors are sending prayers and well wishes to the woman and her family, even though they've never met.
From what I hear, I hope the woman is okay in the long term.
According to charging documents, Blackwell notified police about 2 weeks ago, notifying them that her soon-to-be ex-husband was still contacting her in violation of an active protective order. The couple had been separated since July, and that order, which went into effect in September, prohibited Wise from attempting to contact, harass, or abuse Blackwell. Wise also was ordered to surrender any firearms and claimed he had none. A neighbor who did not wish to be identified said police had made regular appearances at the victim's home in recent weeks, and Blackwell reported that she had been followed home by multiple unknown vehicles, even though she lives on a dead-end street. that she had ignored multiple calls and texts from Wise, and that he had even offered through relatives to pay her to drop misdemeanor charges he faced for violating the order. For all of the warning signs, the ongoing protective order ultimately failed to protect her.
Harford County deputies tracked down Wise for several days, thanks to tips from the public. Just 2 days after the murder, police located and arrested Wise after receiving a tip from a community member that said they spotted him at a Pennsylvania gas station. Wise was taken into custody without incident and is being held in Pennsylvania, where he faces a gun violation and awaits extradition proceedings. Kisha had custody of her 3 children, who are now being cared for by family. Upon news of the arrest, Kisha's family declined to comment. As part of the investigation, the sheriff's office is diving deeper into the handling of the protective order. The case remains ongoing.